The reach truck differs from a conventional counterbalanced forklift truck in two major areas. The first and immediately obvious one is the driving position. On a reach truck, the operator is seated sideways to the direction of travel. The second difference is that the mast or carriage assembly can be extended or reached forward and retracted, hence the name, reach truck. So what's the purpose of this truck? Why is it different and why is there a need for this type of machine? Well, the answer is quite simple: space. Every square metre of warehouse space costs a great deal of money. The more efficiently that space is used, or the more pallets that can be stored, the better. And this often means that going higher with the building and the load is the answer. A counterbalance forklift truck requires relatively wide aisles in which to manoeuvre. The reach truck, on the other hand, is a much more compact machine. It has the ability to partially withdraw the load within its wheelbase using the moving mast or carriage mechanism, so it can operate in narrower aisles. The other significant difference from the operator's point of view is that the machine is more complex than a conventional truck. It therefore requires more skill from the operator, as you'll be manoeuvring in narrower aisles and stacking probably to far greater heights. More about that later on. The main purpose of this film is to show new trainees how to operate a reach truck safely and efficiently. It'll also provide a useful reminder to experienced drivers of how it should be done properly. As we've just explained, one of the main differences between a reach and a counterbalance truck is the way a reach truck partially retracts the load within its wheelbase. With the mast or carriage forward, as it will be when picking up or depositing loads, the reach truck is operating as a counterbalance truck, in that the weight of the truck counterbalances the load it's lifting and carrying. Furthermore, the lower centre of gravity on a reach truck is one of the reasons it can lift its rated capacity higher than a conventional counterbalance. Before we look in detail at how to operate with a reach truck, there are a few features of the truck that, as an operator, you need to be aware of. The correct way to travel safely with a reach truck is with the load retracted and supported by the forks just above the reach legs, with the back tilt applied. The driving position with the operator seated to the direction of travel does take a while to get used to, but as with most things, training and practice makes perfect. The truck is designed to be driven in reverse with the forks trailing. It's much easier this way, as vision is not obstructed and steering is easier as the wheel is being turned in the direction of travel. If the truck is driven travelling forward, the steering wheel is turned in the opposite direction required. Notice how manoeuvrable the truck is. It'll almost turn within its own length. Due to this, you as an operator must pay attention to a phenomenon known as back-end swing. As a truck is turned, the back swings out when travelling forward. When travelling in reverse, a tight turn will cause the front of the fork to swing out. Remember, when you're driving in restricted areas, you must allow for the swing of the truck. Although reach trucks are rarely used on inclines due to the nature of the work they do, if you do need to operate on a gradient, check with the manufacturer the maximum gradient for the truck. It's unlikely to be more than 5 degrees, and remember, if the truck is laden, the forks face uphill, and if it's unladen, the forks face down the slope. Finally, when carrying out your pre-shift checks, it's important to check the reach channels as well for excessive wear. We referred earlier to reach trucks being either moving mast or moving carriage. The majority of reach trucks used in the UK and Europe are of the moving mast variety. The moving carriage design is more common in North America. So let's now take a look at how the reach truck operates when stacking and destacking. We've already covered load assessment in the common denominator, so what we need to do now is to pick up the load and place it in the racking. For ease of understanding and remembering, we've broken the procedure down into a 9-step cycle, starting with step 1. Drive steadily up to the pallet with the forks centrally positioned and stop when the front of the forks are just short of the pallet and apply the parking brake. Level the forks and set to the correct height for pallet entry. Release the parking brake and drive forwards until the front of the reach support legs are almost touching the pallet and reapply the parking brake. Extend the reach until the fork heels just kiss the pallet. Lift the pallet until the bottom of it is about 50mm to 75mm above the reach support legs. Fully retract the reach and apply stabilising back tilt. You're now ready to go and stack the load away once you've checked to see that it's clear to move. Step 2. Approach the designated stacking location in the safe travel position that we saw a moment ago and turn through 90 degrees to face the location. Stop with the front of the load 150mm or 6 inches from the racking and centrally positioned. Apply the parking brake and select neutral. Using the tilt function, level the forks. Step 3. Check overhead to make sure that there is clear headroom before lifting, and then lift the load to the point where the bottom of the pallet is 50 to 75mm, that's 2 to 3 inches, above the racking beam. It's also good practice to check the level of the load and forks again whilst at eye level. Step 4. Select forward gear, check all around that it's clear, and then release the parking brake. Move forwards gently, making any small steering adjustments to accurately position the pallet squarely in its intended location, making sure that the mast doesn't come into contact with the racking. Stop when the reach legs are about 50mm or 2 inches from the racking or bulk stack. Apply the parking brake and select neutral. Step 5. Extend the reach and position the load correctly in the racking. If at this point the reach is fully extended and the pallet is not far enough into the racking or bulk stack to be positioned correctly, move forwards until it's in the correct position. Remember to position the pallet correctly with a 50 to 75mm safety gap on each side of the load, and if stacking in racking, allow the pallet to overhang the front of the racking by about 25 to 50mm. Reapply the parking brake and select neutral. Step 6. Lower the load smoothly under control onto the racking beam. Position the forks at a height to clear the pallet without fouling on withdrawal. Step 7. Fully retract the reach, checking to make sure that the forks cleanly exit the pallet. Step 8. Select reverse, look carefully around, and if all is clear, release the parking brake. Reverse away, looking in the direction of travel with occasional checks to make sure the forks are withdrawing cleanly from the pallet. If you do need to adjust the forks to ensure a clean withdrawal, then stop and apply the parking brake in neutral before making the necessary adjustment. Once the fork tips are 150mm clear of the pallet, stop, apply the parking brake and select neutral. Step 9. Lower the forks under control and place in the safe travel position. Now we move on to destacking, which is a reversal of the stacking process. Once again, we've broken this down into a 9-step process. Step 1. Approach the pallet to be destacked in the safe travel position. Turn through 90 degrees to face the location. Stop with the fork tips 150mm from the racking or bulk stack and centrally positioned. Apply the parking brake and select neutral. Step 2. Using the tilt function, level the forks. It's easier to judge that the load is level at this point rather than when it's high in the air. Step 3. Check overhead that there are no obstructions and then lift the forks to the correct height so that they can enter the pallet cleanly. Step 4. Select forward, release the parking brake after carefully checking all around, and then move slowly forwards, making any slight steering adjustments necessary to ensure that the load, when lifted, will be central on the forks. Move forwards until the front of the reach support legs are just a couple of inches from the racking. Stop and apply the parking brake. Step 5. Extend the reach until the fork heels gently kiss the pallet. Step 6. Check above to make sure that there's enough clear headroom before lifting, and pay particular attention that the load backrest cannot foul on the racking or roof. Lift the pallet 50 to 75 millimeters. If at this point the mast or forks dip forward as the weight is taken, then adjust the back tilt so that the load will be level as it's withdrawn. Step 7. Fully retract the reach, checking that the pallet or load doesn't foul on the racking or adjacent loads. Step 8. Select reverse and look carefully around before releasing the parking brake and reverse away. Look in the direction of travel, but keep checking that the load is withdrawing cleanly and not rubbing on the racking or adjacent loads. When the load is clear of the racking by about 150 millimeters, stop, apply the parking brake and select neutral. Step 9. Lower the load under control until it's about 50 to 75 millimeters above the reach legs and return the truck to the safe travel position. You're now ready to transport the load to its destination. Remember, you must never travel with the reach extended. Not only will this affect the stability of the truck, it'll cause excessive wear to the reach mechanism. It'll also lengthen the truck, making tight turns difficult. Never turn with an elevated load. This can cause the truck to tip over due to the high centre of gravity, and according to HSE statistics, is the biggest single cause of fatalities in lift truck accidents in the UK. Always adopt the safe travel position and always ensure that you've lifted the load clear of the reach legs before retracting the reach. It's important that at the end of your working day or shift, you make sure that you leave your truck parked in a safe position. Your site will normally have a designated area for parking up trucks once operation is complete. Familiarise yourself with the rules and regulations of your site and ensure that your truck is never left in an unsafe place. This film has covered the basics of safe operation of a reach forklift truck. It has been designed as a training aid to help operators understand how to operate safely and efficiently. What it can't do is to make you a safe operator by itself. All operators of forklift trucks should be properly trained by an accredited trainer. To become a safe and efficient operator, you must remember your training and apply this in your everyday work. Remember these golden rules. Always concentrate on what you're doing. Look carefully around before moving off and look in the direction of travel. Always look up when lifting the mast, and always make sure you have sufficient overhead clearance for doorways, pipes, lights and cables. Always travel in the safe travel position. Remember, the rear and front end swing when operating the truck. You know, but not everyone around you may be so careful. When approaching a blind corner, slow down, maneuver slowly, be prepared to stop and sound the horn to let others know you're there. Do stay in control. Always keep one hand on the steering wheel, travel at a speed suited to the conditions, and avoid making sharp turns or sudden stops. If following another truck, keep a minimum separation gap of 3 truck lengths to allow you to stop safely if necessary. If you come across debris on the floor, don't drive over it. Stop, park safely and remove it. The next driver may not spot it, resulting in an accident. Do take care of yourself. Never allow any part of your body to stick out from the safety of the cab, and when mounting and dismounting the truck, use the 3 points of contact rule. Face the truck, use the hand grips and steps provided. Look all around for hazards and don't jump. Every year in the UK, there are thousands of reportable accidents involving forklift trucks, many of them very serious and several resulting in fatalities. Accidents don't just happen. They're caused by things like operator error, inadequate supervision, doing things too fast, ground and working conditions, poor equipment condition, or complacency. Remember the message in this film and your training. Be safe, look after yourself, and everything around you.